Hi everybody and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name's Leora and I talk on here about books, reading, writing and sometimes other stuff as well. And today I am here with an updated Witchy TBR video. So I'm going to be talking about all the witch books that I still want to read. There is so many more that have come to my list since the last time I made a video about witch books, so get ready for a whole lot more witchy reading. So my last video was more sort of like a combination of a witchy recommendations and then also some witchy books I still wanted to read, and this video is solely just books I still want to read, so it was really difficult to be selective because I could pick anything because it wasn't necessary that I'd already read it, so it was really difficult to make choices. There were so many books out there that I still want to read, but I've compiled a list and I hope that you guys will enjoy it as much as I do. I don't know when I'm gonna get to these books because there's so many I'm interested in, and there's also some that I already own that I want to get to quicker maybe, and there's even some on this list that are not out yet, so it's a mixed bunch. But without any further ado, let's get into it. So the first book on the list is actually a sequel to a book I've read this year, and I thought it was last year, but it was this year, and I enjoyed it a lot. And that book is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. This is the second book, and this is the sequel to, what was it called again? It's a very long title. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. It's not that long. I just keep forgetting it. I enjoyed the first book in this series so much, and I cannot wait to get to this second one. I think it's planned to come out in 2024. Oh, I have to wait until then. So I wish I could get my fingers on it quicker, but I'm very excited. So as far as I know, it's a whole new story, and I think it is like maybe in the same world or like in some way connected, but it's not really like a continuation of the first story, or at least it doesn't seem to be. So we follow Sarah Swan, and she's one of the most powerful witches in Great Britain. She resurrected her great aunt from the very recent dead. So I think her aunt like died, and Sarah Swan was like, wouldn't it be a marvelous idea if I resurrected my aunt? And then she lost all her powers, and I think that is where our story starts. So that sounds very interesting. I love me some ghosts and resurrection. I mean, I'm not like pro resurrection or anything. I just find it an interesting topic. It also says here, she befriends a semi-villainous talking fox and was exiled from her magical guild. Semi-villainous sounds really good. So she's lost her powers, and her day-to-day life now consists of helping her recently resurrected aunt run an inn. So there's like a cozy inn with all sorts of weird guests. I don't know why there's always a cozy magical inn in each one of these books, but like it's a trope I really enjoy, so I'm not complaining. And then she learns of this great spell book that could help her get her powers back, and of course there's nothing she wants more. So that's the plot of this story. It sounds really good. If it's as cozy and like as much of the warming found family vibes as The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, I just know I'm gonna eat this up. So I'm very excited to get into this one, and the cover is also really cute. There's two covers, like a US and a UK one, and I think I like the pink one a little bit more, but they're both really very cute. So I'm very excited for this book to come out. Okay, the second book on my list is Weyward by Amelia Hart. I do own it, but I currently don't have it here, so I'm just gonna put a nice picture up for you guys. In this book, there's 3 storylines, and they are all set in a different time period. So there's the 2019 storyline in which we follow Kate, and she escapes an abusive husband and flees to the beautiful little Weyward cottage tucked away in the woods. And there she discovers that her great aunt, who the cottage belonged to, might have had a secret, something to do with witchcraft. So that is that storyline. It sounds already amazing and like something I need to read. It sounds like sort of dark cottagecore witchy. And then in 1619 we read the story of Arthur, and she is awaiting trial for the murder of a local farmer. She did not commit this murder, but she was sought out because she's a witch, and she and her mother have for a very long time used their powers, and they're very connected to nature and like Mother Earth, and it sounds very interesting. And then the last storyline is set in 1942 during World War II, and in this one we follow Violet, and she is in her family's crumbling estate as the war is happening around her, and the only thing she has left of her mother, who was rumoured to have gone mad, is a locket, and it has the W of Weyward engraved into it, and you know, Violet might also be a witch. So there's these 3 storylines spread out over 5 centuries, all having to do with women that have magic and that are different from the rest of their society. It says on the back of the book, Amelia Hart's Weyward is an enthralling novel of female resilience and the transformative power of the natural world. That sounds incredible and something I really want to get to. And then the next book on my list is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I love this cover, it's very magical. I know that they also have a paperback now which has like gold foiling on it. Kind of wish I'd gotten that one, but I got this from Book of the Month and it's still a really cute cover, so. So this is set on Saoirse Island, and it's like an island that is remote and has all these misty shores, and you know, there's like townspeople and it's a small place, and that sounds amazing. Like the scene was set, sounds really good. The main character of our story is Emery Blackwood, and she lives on the island, and a long time ago her life changed for the worst because her best friend was murdered, and her lover, the love of her life supposedly, August, he was rumoured to have done it, and he's fled the island, and it's a horrible history, and Emery has decided she just wants to live a quiet, small existence from now on, which is everything she never wanted to be, but she's kind of forced into it due to these happenings. So she runs the family business, which is called Blackwood's Tea Shop, Herbal Tonics and Tea Leaf Readings, which just sounds so good. I want to move there. Can I also work in the family business? Hi, Emmy, please. So the island is rooted in folklore and magic, and it starts acting strange. And Emery knows that something is up, and then when August returns to the island, the rumoured murderer, everything is going to change and happen, and an adventure is afoot. And everybody is trying to forget about this horrible murder, but when he's put in front of them, it's something you can't forget. He's right there, and he is rumoured to have done it, but he was never convicted. So that's the story. It sounds really interesting. I love the setting. I really enjoy when there's like a small town and it's like all spooky and misty, and like I haven't read a whole lot of these type of books set on an island, so I think that's an interesting change of pace. I love me a good forest and like a small town, but a small town on an island is like extra great, so can't wait to get into this one. I mean, they're also witches, by the way, but I thought that was clear since this is a video about witch books. The next book on my list is also a sequel, and this is The Golden Frog Games by Claribel A. Ortega. I've read the first book in this series as well, Witchlings, and I enjoyed it so much. I thought it was one of the cutest middle grade witchy stories I've read in a while, and it really reminded me of Nevermore, which is one of my favourite middle grade books that I keep bringing up over and over again, but it's really good, and yeah, I had to bring it up. So this story is set in a society full of witches, and there's like a town uncle who runs the witches, and we follow Seven Salazar, and she's about to turn 12, and when she turns 12 she gets sorted into a coven, and this is a very special and important part of becoming an adult witch. But unfortunately for Seven Salazar, she gets sorted out as a spare, which is basically a leftover witch who belongs to no single coven at all. And Seven and her best friend had always planned to be landed in, I think, the Amethyst Coven. I forgot the names of these covens because it's been a while since I read it, but they had like a plan, and the plan did not go to plan, I guess, because Seven was sorted as a spare. So she invokes the impossible task, and that means that she can still become a coven with the other leftover witches if they complete this impossible task. But it's already in the name, it's quite an impossible task. So the first book is all about monsters and found family and finding your community and daring to stand up for what's important. And I thought it was a middle grade that was magical and whimsical, but also full of like lovely lessons. And without spoiling anything, in the second book, Seven Salazar and her friends are going to compete in the Golden Frog Games, which is like a magical competition. So all the 12 magical towns have their own competitors, and then slowly some of the competitors start turning to stone. So there's like something going on there, something going wrong. So sounds like a very lovely sequel to the first book, and I'm really excited to dive into it. This was a book filled with so much magic and folklore, and I just thought it was really good. And Seven is such a lovable main character, and also I want to give a special shout out to her baby brother in this book, Beefy, who's like the worst character in the best way. So funny. He's like a baby who can teleport, and he teleports when he's like upset, so it's very impractical because this baby starts crying and then he ends up at like the border of the forest. So very impractical, but makes for a very funny character in a book. The next book on my list is The Witchery by S. Isabel, and this is about a magical school, as you might have noticed already by the title. It's a YA fantasy, and I think it's also like a little bit of a mystery. I'm very excited to dive into this because it's got both witches, and I think it's also got like a werewolf academy. I'm not sure on that one, but it sounds really good. So the story is set in Hellsford, and Hellsford is set on the Hell's Mouth, so there's lots of different magical activities going on because it's set in this geological place where there's lots of wild magic. And we follow Logan, who is accepted into Mesmort's Coven Academy, where she's going to learn all about witchcraft. And when she gets to the school, she immediately befriends the infamous Red 3, who are like these infamous witches that everybody wants to belong to. And every year when the haunting season begins, like magic starts going crazy around this area, so humans and witches have to work together and overcome their prejudices to stop the haunting season together. This story sounds really good, and I've seen that it's available as an audiobook as well, so it sounds like one of those reads that is perfect for like audiobooking on cozy fall evenings, so very excited to read it. I've said the word excited like 5 times, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm just excited. The next book on my list is Conjure Women by Afia Atakora. This sounds so good. Listen, a mother and daughter with a shared talent for healing and for the conjuring of curses are at the heart of this dazzling first novel. It's again one of those books that spans different eras and generations, so it's set before and after the Civil War in the South, and we follow 3 different women, and I think they're all like a different generation from the same family line. So we have Miss May Bell, who's a healing woman, and then we have her daughter, and she is kind of doubting whether she wants to step into her mother's footsteps as a midwife. And then we have their master's daughter, Verena, because this book also talks about slavery because it was happening during this period. So there's many secrets and bonds between these women, and then when an accursed child is born, the townspeople are scared, there's rumors flying up, and everybody has to fight to keep their tenuous freedom that they've just received. It says here that it's magnificently written, brilliantly researched, richly imagined, and it moves back and forth in time to tell the haunting story of Rue, Verena, and Maybelle, their passions and friendships, and the lengths they will go to save themselves and those they love. I've not read as many historical witchy reads as I would have wanted to, so I think it will be really intriguing to see how they combine like real life history with these magical events and how it all intertwines together. The next book I want to talk about is Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. I've borrowed this from a friend and I'm really excited to get into it. Every time this book is mentioned on my channel or one of you guys sees it like lying around in like the background of a video, it gets so many comments because apparently everybody loves Sarah Addison Allen and her writing, so I think that bodes very well for me. So in this book we follow the Waverley family, and they have this magical atmospheric garden with a tree that apparently bears some sort of magical gifts, and then we follow 2 sisters who are both witches, and one is like a caterer, so she does lots of kitchen magic, so that's something I'm very interested to see how they're going to write it. And then they also have an elderly cousin, Evernell, and one of the sisters is kind of rebellious and has run away, and she returns after lots of years, and she turns everybody's lives upside down, and she also returns with a young daughter of her own, which is very unexpected. I've heard nothing but praise for this book, so I'm very excited to get into it. It sounds very cozy and atmospheric. I've put way too many books on this list and I'm kind of considering to make choices and not talk about all of them, but one I do really still want to talk about is Butter Sugar Magic by Jessica Rosenberg. Listen, this book was described to me as a witch in a midlife crisis inherits a magical bakery from a weird aunt and moves there with her daughter after a divorce. And that just sounds great. I would love to read about a witch in a midlife crisis. So our witch moves to this strange town with her daughter. She's a single mother, and the apartment that she's inherited next to the magical bakery bizarrely adheres itself to her whims. And then there's also the neighbors sending like floating fireballs through the air. So there's all sorts of weird magical things afoot. And it says Kessie has 2 choices. She can hightail it out of this bewildering town and figure out a way to support her preteen daughter, or she can stay and live the life of her dreams in this unsettling place where the rules of physics don't seem to apply and people are suspiciously friendly and welcoming. The whole series of these books is called the Magical Midlife Paranormal Women's Fiction series. So I don't know, it just sounds great and like something I want to get into. The next book on my list yet again has a cozy magical bakery. It is just something I really like, so I would like to read more of it. So this is Fangs and Frenemies by Sierra Cross, and I have to admit I also got drawn in by the cover because that is absolutely stunning, and the cover for the second book is like this sort of blood red wine colour, so I really enjoy that as well. This is set in the cozy, windswept village of Blue Moon Bay. These names are always so good. I enjoy all those magical, whimsical names so much. And we follow Hazel Greenwood, who's always been a little bit of an outcast, because even though the whole town is weird and magical, and there's like ghosts and vampires running afoot, she still feels like an outcast in her family because she's the only one that's inherited her granny's green magic. And then she also inherits her grandmother's bakery, and she starts working to learn to put her magic into her baked goods. So very similar storyline, but a little bit different because it's a bit more of a mystery because a girl in her past goes missing, a girl that she went to high school with. So Hazel now has to find out what happened to her, and there's all sorts of things coming up again from her past that she didn't want to see the light. And it says, to clear each other's names, 3 supernatural frenemies must set aside ancient grudges and learn to trust each other. And this is the sentence that really got me. If you like smart, sleuthing witches, snarky humor, heartwarming friendship, and the slowest of slow burn romance, escape to Blue Moon Bay today. And I was like, yes, I'll get a ticket, let's go. Anyway, so those were a few more of the witch books that are on my list that I really want to get to. There's so many more that I want to read. I have like an insane list of witch books on my phone, and there's also a few more in my house that I still have to read, and there's a few more that I shared in my list of last year that I still haven't read, even though I watched through that video again this morning and I was like, oh, I've actually read quite a few of these books, so I've not done too bad. But for example, Cackle is a book I still really want to get to, and there were some other few in that list that I still haven't read, but most of them that I wanted to read I've gotten to, so yay me. Anyway, I hope you've really enjoyed this video and it gave you some inspiration for some witchy books that are out there that you could possibly read. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe, and tell me in the comments down below what you thought of this video. And if you don't know what to comment, you can leave me a nice little witch emoji. I'll see what you guys do with that one. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!